Yesterday, a woman told me, "I do everything right, but the money just disappears. It's like my house swallows it." And let me ask you something. Do you feel that too when you look at your bills? If you clicked on this right now, pay attention. This didn't show up by accident. There's a detail on your front door that can change how you enter and exit the cycle of lack. And before I show you the exact spot, I need to warn you. Most people do it wrong for one simple reason, and then they say, "See, it doesn't work." In 10 seconds, you'll understand the mistake. The mistake is this: placing it where it's exposed, where guests can see it, or worse, moving it around all the time. That breaks the symbol, breaks the routine, and your mind goes right back to, what's the point? Today, I'm going to show you where to hide 3 whole cloves on your door, and why this simple gesture helps close invisible leaks, the kind that quietly drain your peace and your money without you even noticing. And just to be clear, this is a symbolic, intentional act inspired by tradition and values. The power isn't in superstition, it's in intention, plus consistency, plus behavior. Write this down: main door, inside, upper right corner of the door frame. Up high is stability, right side is openness. It's a physical reminder for your mind to stop locking its own life. Now here's the part almost nobody does, the part that creates the emotional shift. You're going to hide it and say one short sentence, just one line. A sentence that changes how you talk about money inside your home. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Here, I give you one key a week for your door, your home, and the words that bring order and calm. And comment right now to seal your decision. I open my door. I read them. Because when you write it, you own it. Now I want you to picture the simplest scene in the world. You walking in and out of your house, and without realizing it, repeating the same weight, the same worries, that same tight feeling in your chest whenever you think about money. So I'm going to be extremely clear. The exact point is your front door, on the inside, upper right corner of the frame. Not the middle, not by the handle, not somewhere random. Up high and to the right, inside. Why is that detail so important? Because it does 2 things at once. First, it creates a fixed marker, a place you don't keep changing, and the mind needs that. The mind needs stability, like a house built on a solid foundation, not shifting sand. Second, it creates a silent reminder. This isn't for display. It's not for guests. It's for you, every day, to remember that you decided to change the pattern. Now the step is simple. Take 3 whole cloves, keep them together, and hide them there, truly hidden, discreet, no display. If your door is wood, secure them firmly and quietly. If you rent, and a lot of people do, or you don't want to damage anything, that's fine. The key is placement. High, right side, inside, stable, not falling, not visible. And here's the part that changes everything. After you place them, you do not turn this into anxiety. You don't keep checking. You don't keep adjusting. Because when you keep touching it, you're telling your mind, I don't trust this. And when the mind doesn't trust, it goes back to the old script. Now pay attention to mistake number 1, putting it where someone sees it and you feel self-conscious. Telling someone who's going to mock you, or moving it because you didn't feel anything. That kills consistency. If this kind of guidance gives you direction and clarity, subscribe. This channel is new, and here you'll find one key a week for your home, your door, and the words that strengthen you from the inside out. In a moment, I'll give you the one-line sentence, and after that, I'll teach you how to hold it for 7 days. No obsession, just steadiness. Now let me explain why this affects your sense of security, and I'll keep it simple. In Jewish tradition and values, deeply rooted in communities from New York City to Miami, a home isn't just a place you live. A home is a container. It holds energy, rest, conversation, silence, and worry. And for many women, the home becomes the place where you carry the world on your shoulders, and no one sees it. And the door is the most sensitive point, because the door is the threshold. It's where the outside world meets your inner world. That's why when life feels tight, inflation rising, bills stacking up, uncertainty in the air, people start to feel like their own home feels heavy. Not because the house is against you, but because you walk in and out every day carrying the same mental state, the same phrases, the same fears. And this is where the 3 cloves come in. 3 is the number of structure. 1 is fragile, 2 is unstable, 3 forms a base, 3 closes a triangle. When you place 3 together, you're teaching your mind one simple message. I am creating solid ground, and the clove itself carries strong symbolism. It has presence, it lasts, it leaves a mark. It's like you're saying, I'm not going to live in constant survival mode anymore. I'm building consistency. Now, why up high? And why the right side? Up high is where you don't mess with things impulsively. It represents stability, strength. Like a house built on a solid foundation in the Midwest. Not something that shifts with every storm. And the right side, in traditional symbolism, is associated with expansion, openness, generosity, the movement of allowing good to enter without resistance. But there's a part almost nobody understands, and it's decisive. The secret. When I say don't tell anyone, I'm not creating cheap mystery. It's protection. Because people, sometimes without meaning harm, throw doubt, sarcasm, side comments, and that slips into your mind as extra weight, and you're already carrying enough. So this gesture needs to be yours. Discreet, silent, steady. Here's a truth. Acts done in silence carry special power, because you're not chasing approval. You're training your mind to obey your own decision. In a moment, I'll teach you the one-line sentence. And after that, I'll give you the full step-by-step, including the detail almost everyone ignores, what you do in the days after placing the cloves, because what transforms you isn't placing them, it's maintaining it. Now let me give you the full process, as simple as possible, and understand this clearly. This isn't about making it look pretty, it's about doing it with firmness, because firmness changes your energy, your language, your behavior. Step 1. Prepare the space. Before placing anything, take a clean cloth with a little water and wipe the inside of the doorframe where you'll place them. No fancy products, no rituals. This gesture is simply telling your mind, I take care of the entrance of my home. In American culture, we talk about protecting our space. This is that, protecting your threshold. Step 2. Choose the 3 cloves. Take 3 whole cloves. Whole, not ground. Choose 3 that are firm and intact. It's not about being expensive. It's about respect for your decision. When you do something carelessly, your brain registers, this doesn't matter. When you do it carefully, your brain registers, I take myself seriously. Step 3. Place them in the exact spot. Go to the correct place, front door, inside, upper right corner of the frame. Place the 3 together, discreetly. The goal is that no one sees them. This is not decor, it's not conversation material, it's consistency. And here's mistake number 2, the one that trips up a lot of people, placing them today and tomorrow, adjusting them, because you got anxious, because you didn't feel anything, because you thought maybe it should be somewhere else. That breaks stability. And when you break stability, you fall back into the old pattern. Step 4. The one-line sentence. Now comes the short phrase, just one line. Easy to remember. You'll say it quietly, out loud or internally, but with presence. Let good enter, let the weight leave, and let this home stay open. You're not begging, you're declaring. It's a verbal decision that matches a practical decision. Step 5. 7 days without touching. After placing them, you live the next 7 days with one rule. You don't touch, you don't move, you don't test. You simply observe your life and your words. Because the fastest change that happens is internal. You start noticing what you say, how you react, what you repeat. And here's something small but powerful. Every time you walk through that door, pause for 1 second and remember the corner. Just 1 second. And ask yourself, am I opening a path or am I closing it out of fear? In a moment, I'm going to gently press on something deeper. The phrases that sabotage good, hard-working, exhausted women, and how to replace them without fake positivity. And after that, I'll tell you a realistic story, because the first sign almost never shows up as money. It shows up before money. Now I'm going to ask you something respectfully. Be honest with yourself for a moment. You can place the 3 cloves correctly. You can say the phrase. You can follow every step. But if inside your home your language stays in lack mode, you'll feel like you're trying to walk forward with a weight tied to your ankle. And I know why. Because life trains us to defend ourselves. We say, it won't work before trying, so we won't be disappointed. We say, I can't afford it before thinking, so we won't feel shame. We say, there's never enough, because there were times there truly wasn't. And the body learned to expect the worst. But those phrases become internal commands. Without realizing it, you start living as if you're not allowed to receive, not allowed to breathe, not allowed to feel peace. Listen carefully. Many good, hard-working, strong women are not stuck because they lack worth. They're stuck because they carry too much. Mental load, emotional load, responsibility. And when the mind is overloaded, it repeats what's familiar, even when what's familiar is painful. So I'm going to give you 3 simple replacements, not fantasy, not fake positivity, direction, a new way to talk to life. When the phrase, I don't have money shows up, replace it with, I'm getting organized and the path is opening. When there's never enough shows up, replace it with, I'm closing leaks and learning how to receive. When nothing ever works out for me shows up, replace it with, I'm going to do this the right way, with consistency. Do you see the difference? You're not claiming you're rich, you're claiming you're moving. And movement is the opposite of being stuck. Now let me ask you something, looking you straight in the eye. When money gets tight, what do you do first? Do you blame yourself, or do you organize yourself? Because guilt drains you, guilt exhausts you. Guilt doesn't open doors, organization does. And every time you walk through your front door, remember the corner and say the phrase, you're building a new reflex. Instead of complaining, breathe. Instead of panicking, choose. Instead of repeating, I can't, look for the next possible step. In a moment, I'll tell you a real-life story, every day, relatable, so you can see how this begins, and how the first sign is often small, but it's exactly the small sign that proves the door has started to open. Let me tell you about a woman who could be anyone listening right now. She was in her early 50s, hard-working. The kind of woman who holds the house together, manages the emotional climate of the family, handles what no one else sees, and still goes to bed with her mind racing. On the outside, she looked strong. On the inside, she carried constant pressure, like she was always one step behind. And what hurt the most wasn't just money. It was the repetition. Every month started with hope and ended with the same sentence. Here we go again. One late afternoon, after a long workday, she got home and stood at the door for a few seconds. You know that moment. Keys in your hand, but you don't walk in yet. Because crossing the threshold means stepping back into the weight. and she said something you may have said too. My house doesn't feel restful anymore. That hit me. Because many women aren't without faith. They're not weak, they're exhausted. And when you don't rest, you become a worry machine. That day, she decided to do the gesture with the 3 cloves. No announcement, no asking for opinions, no turning it into a family debate. Just her and her decision. She grabbed 3 whole cloves and walked to the front door. And here's the first important detail. She almost ruined it with anxiety. She wanted to place them somewhere obvious, somewhere visible, so she could feel like she was doing something. But when it's visible, you become a hostage to other people's reactions. And when you become a hostage to other people's reactions, your decision weakens. So she paused. She lifted her eyes to the upper right corner of the doorframe on the inside, and she placed them there, quiet, firm, unnoticed. Before stepping inside, she said the sentence. One line, no drama. With posture, let good enter, let the weight leave, and let this home stay open. Then she walked in and did what needed to be done. And this part matters. She didn't turn it into anxiety. She didn't start hunting for signs. Because when you hunt for signs, you become a slave to the outcome. And when you become a slave to the outcome, you get frustrated fast. The next day, the first sign appeared. And it wasn't money, it was silence. She walked into her house and noticed she didn't immediately start complaining. Not because everything was perfect, but because for 1 second she remembered the corner. And that corner became a trigger that said, don't repeat the old sentence. You know the old sentence. It's not going to work. There's never enough. I can't do this. She took a breath and just walked in. It sounds small. It isn't. Because the first real shift is this. You stop feeding chaos with your own mouth. 2 days later, the second sign came, and this one is very common. She went to the grocery store, the same store she always goes to, like a Target or Kroger run after work. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't buy out of impulse. She looked, she thought, she chose. And she left with a different feeling, not guilt, direction. She told me, it feels like I'm back in charge of my own mind. And when you're back in charge of your mind, you're back in charge of your choices. On the 4th day, something simple happened. A text message, an old contact, a conversation that seemed casual, but opened a door. A side job, a small opportunity, nothing dramatic, no lottery win, just movement. And this is where I need you to understand something most people miss. Life doesn't change because a truckload of money falls from the sky. Life changes when the door starts opening again, in small, real ways. On the 5th day, she came home exhausted. It had been a hard day. Someone had criticized her. That old fear started creeping back in. She was ready to snap, ready to say, I can't do this anymore, ready to drop back into survival mode. She opened the door, and before stepping in, she paused 1 second, and inside her mind she said, I'm not going back to chaos. Then quietly, let good enter, let the weight leave. She told me it felt like her body remembered something it had forgotten. She could choose her response. The next day, something concrete happened. A bill she'd been stressing over resolved more smoothly than expected. A payment plan, a discount. A solution she couldn't see before because anxiety had been too loud. And she said something powerful. It's like when I stopped fighting life. Life stopped fighting me. I'm not romanticizing anything. I'm showing you a pattern. Anxiety closes doors. Consistency opens them. Now I know what you might be thinking. Okay, but what if I do this and nothing happens? That's fair. So here's the honest answer you deserve. If you treat this like decoration and the next day you keep repeating scarcity phrases, making impulsive decisions, blaming yourself, comparing yourself to everyone on Instagram, panicking every time a bill comes in, you'll keep feeling the same weight, Not because you don't deserve better, but because your brain is running the same program. However, if you do this the right way, discreet, steady, not moving it, using the short phrase, replacing the old language, you will notice at least one thing: your posture changes. And when your posture changes, your decisions change. And when your decisions change, your life starts moving. Now pay attention. The next part is what protects your consistency. I'm going to give you the 5 most common signs that show up in the first 2 weeks when you do this correctly. Because recognizing a sign is what keeps you from quitting too soon. And quitting too soon is exactly what keeps many women stuck in the same place for years. Remember, a sign isn't just money. A sign is movement. An internal shift first, then external. Sign 1. Your home feels lighter. You walk in and notice your body relaxes a little. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because you created a point of order, and order creates safety. Especially for you, the one who lies awake at night thinking about everything. Sign 2. The tone around money shifts. The bills might still be there, but the conversation changes. You stop talking about money like it's an invisible enemy. You start talking about it like a woman who's getting organized. That changes the atmosphere. It changes how others respond to you, and it changes how you respond to yourself. Sign 3. A small opportunity appears. A message, an invitation, a referral, an old connection, an idea that suddenly feels clear. Here's the truth. When life starts moving, it usually starts small. Small is the door cracking open, and the woman who recognizes the small doesn't quit. Sign 4. A feared expense becomes lighter. A discount, a negotiated bill, a solution you couldn't see before. When anxiety goes down, you see options. When your mind stops screaming, it starts thinking. Sign 5. You catch your own words. This is the most powerful one. You catch yourself saying, "I can't," and you correct it. You catch yourself complaining automatically, and you pause. You catch yourself spiraling in fear, and you remember, "I decided to open a path." That's the moment you step out of autopilot. And let me warn you gently so you don't sabotage yourself. Many women do this for 3 days and stop because they want instant proof. I understand. You're tired. Life has worn you down. But the key here is consistency. That's why I said 7 days without touching it, without testing it, without adjusting it. Before doubt starts creeping in, let me answer the 3 questions I hear all the time. What if I rent? What if I live with someone who'll make fun of this? What if my door is metal or different? Stay with me. I'm going to show you how to adapt without losing the essence. And then I'll give you what ties everything together. A simple 7-day routine. Because what transforms your life isn't a beautiful gesture done once. It's a gesture that becomes practice. I don't want you quitting halfway because of insecurity. I want you thinking, I can do this the right way, in my real life. Question 1. I rent. I can't drill holes. That's okay. You don't need to drill anything. The core isn't making holes. The core is position and consistency. High, right side, inside, discreet and secure. In the US, a lot of people rent. Apartments, townhomes, shared spaces. That's not a barrier. You can secure it without damaging anything. What you can't do is leave it loose, falling or visible. Because when it's unstable, it creates anxiety. And anxiety is the mess you're trying to end. Question 2. I live with someone who will mock me. Let me say this with respect. You don't need anyone's approval to protect your peace. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to debate it. You don't need to convince anyone. Do it quietly. Do it for you. This isn't about hiding. It's about protecting your mindset from skepticism, sarcasm, or negative energy. Too many women give up good decisions because they're more worried about someone's comment at the dinner table than their own well-being. Don't hand your decision to someone who isn't carrying your load. Question 3. My door is metal or different? That's not a problem. The essence isn't the material, it's the threshold. The place stays the same: high, right side, inside, discreet, stable, no moving. When you respect the essence, your mind respects the gesture. And when your mind respects it, you maintain consistency. Now let's talk about the question behind all the others. The one I know is in your head. What if I do this and nothing changes? What if I get disappointed again? I understand. Because the disappointment isn't about Cloves. It's about the fact that you've tried before, you've hoped before, and you're tired of picking yourself back up alone. So let me be honest. The first result isn't money. The first result is alignment. It's you stopping the constant adjusting. It's you stopping the self-sabotaging talk. It's you walking into your home and remembering, I decided. That alignment changes practical things. When anxiety lowers, you make clearer decisions. When you make clearer decisions, you make fewer mistakes. When you make fewer mistakes, you breathe easier. And when you breathe easier, opportunities become visible. Now, here's the most important part. So this doesn't turn into a 2-day experiment. The 7-day routine, simple, realistic, no extremes, built for a real woman, with a job, a home, responsibilities, and exhaustion. This isn't obsession, it's a track that moves you from survival mode into direction. The 7-day reset. Day 1, organized entry, organized mind. Choose one thing near your entrance to fix. A rug that's crooked, shoes piled up, mail stacked on a table, a bag that's been sitting there for days. Just one thing that makes you feel, I'm in charge here. The goal is to feel order when you walk in. Day 2, replace the phrase. Throughout the day, every time you catch yourself saying, I can't, I don't have, this won't work, replace it with, I'm getting organized and the path is opening. Don't argue with yourself, just practice. Day 3, 3 seconds of gratitude at the door. When you walk in, pause for 3 seconds and think, thank you for the path that's opening. You're not pretending everything is perfect. You're training your brain to look for solutions instead of problems. Day 4, 1 practical financial action. Choose 1 small action, review 1 bill, cancel 1 small subscription, call to negotiate a charge, write down what's coming in and what's going out. 1 action. The goal is to move from helplessness to agency. Day 5, grounded generosity. Generosity doesn't mean spending money you don't have. It means a small action that says, I don't live in fear. Help someone with something simple. Donate something you no longer use. Send a kind message. Encourage someone. In American culture, we talk about paying it forward. That shift changes your internal posture. Day 6, silence and protection. On this day, avoid talking about money in a desperate tone. If you need to talk about it, talk with a plan. If you feel the urge to complain, pause and breathe. This day is about protecting your mind from noise. The news cycle, social media comparisons, fear-based conversations. You don't have to participate in every panic to survive. Tomorrow I'll give you day 7, the step that seals everything. Day 7, reaffirm at the door. When you walk through your front door, remember the corner and say the 1-line sentence, let good enter, let the weight leave, and let this home stay open. That's it. No drama, no performance, just steadiness. Now I want to ask you something, because this community is powerful when it becomes real. Comment below in a simple way to seal your commitment. I open my door, and if you'd like, add your city, whether you're in Dallas, Chicago, Phoenix, Atlanta, wherever you are. I read them, I follow along, because when you realize you're not alone, you hold on longer, and holding on is what creates change. Now, before you fully step into these 7 days, I need to give you one adjustment that makes all the difference, and almost nobody respects it. After placing the 3 cloves in the right spot, the most common impulse is to try to prove that it worked. You start watching your life anxiously, demanding immediate results. But anxiety is exactly what closes the path. So here's a simple rule, especially if you're tired of being disappointed. Don't turn this into a test. Turn it into posture. Instead of thinking, "Is this going to work?" think, "I already started." That shift alone changes everything. There's another quiet detail that protects your decision: discretion. When I say don't tell people, it's not about secrecy. It's because sometimes we share something meaningful and get back a joke, a side eye, a dismissive comment, and that becomes a small poison inside you. You don't need anyone else to believe. You need to stay consistent. And here's why this matters in your daily life. When you hold a small decision quietly, you strengthen the most important muscle in life: consistency. Consistency creates order. Order reduces fear. And when fear decreases, opportunity becomes visible. So if you've already placed them, good. If you haven't yet, you know the spot. But what matters most is doing it the right way. Discreet, steady, no adjusting, and no feeding your home with scarcity language. Now let's close this clearly so you don't leave confused. You learned 3 main things. First, the location: front door, inside, upper right corner of the frame, discreet and firm. Second, the phrase: let good enter, let the weight leave, and let this home stay open. Third, the consistency: 7 days without touching it, observing your words, observing your decisions. And I want to remind you of something important. You're not doing this to impress the universe. You're doing this to organize your mind and your home, to stop living in constant reaction mode, to stop speaking against yourself, to rebuild solid ground. If you're a woman who has always held everything together, listen to me. Opening a path is not selfish. Opening a path is responsibility toward your own life. When you improve internally, your home feels it. Your family feels it. Even your decision-making shifts. So here are 2 simple asks. First, comment below, "I open my door," and if you want, add your city. Community builds strength. Strength builds consistency. Second, if this video gave you clarity and peace, subscribe. This channel is new, and I'm building a series of weekly keys for your home, your door, your words, and the habits that make you stronger from the inside out. And please, if you know a woman who's exhausted, anxious, feeling stuck, share this video with her, not as a miracle promise, but as an act of care. Sometimes all someone needs is a simple starting point to step out of the weight. And so you don't stop here. In the next video, I'm going to show you a small mistake at your home's entrance that seems harmless, but quietly drains peace and momentum. It's the kind of detail you see every single day and don't even notice. Stay with me. And remember, you don't have to fix everything today, but you do have to start with firmness.